Hi, I'm Bob Garrett. Hackensack University Medical Center believes that all citizens need to be informed about the important health issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, United Water, making the planet sustainable is the best job on Earth, Wells Fargo, MAGNACARE, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, KESSLER Foundation, changing the lives of people with disabilities, and by Josh S. Weston. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey, and by New Jersey Monthly, the magazine of the Garden State, available at newsstands.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to the WNET Tisch studio in the heart of Lincoln Center. It is our pleasure to welcome for the first time here in the studio Dr. Holly Phillips, who is the medical contributor, a medical contributor with CBS News and a board-certified general internist and the author of this book, provocative and important book. It is called The Exhaustion Breakthrough. Dr. Phillips, we were just talking about this before we got on the air. Why are so many people so tired?
Right. You know, I see that we're living in an epidemic of exhaustion, right? Where we've accepted fatigue as our fate. So many people, especially women, we've built these big, wonderful, fulfilling lives, right? From families to kids to working in the job force to taking care of our friends and the community. But it's almost as though subconsciously we feel like the price we should pay for living such full lives is to be so exhausted we can't enjoy them. And I don't think it should be that way. So really, the reason that I wrote the book was to point out hundreds of common but commonly overlooked both medical conditions and lifestyle things we can all change to have more energy.
Such as?
Well, one of the things that I propose in the book is something called a 7-day Exhaustion Breakthrough Challenge.
A 7-day?
A 7-day Exhaustion Breakthrough Challenge. You do 8 different steps during these 7 days. And I suggest people don't do it during their most busy time because, you know, some of them are challenging if you are very, very, very busy. But what the 7-day Exhaustion Breakthrough Challenge really does more than anything is help you identify your personal energy drains. So one of the first steps is to keep what I call a fatigue diary. I have it in the book. You can just fill it out. And hour by hour, you write down what your energy levels are. And then on another axis, you look at how much you've eaten, what you had to drink, whether or not you exercised, what your stressors are, so you can start to make those critical connections.
Now, what's fascinating about that, I was telling you before we got on the air, my answer to everything when it comes to fatigue, because not to make a big deal about this, but our crew gets here very early in the day here at the Tisch studio, WNET. We have long taping days, and if you're exhausted or you're acting exhausted or it comes across, it doesn't work. Behind the scenes, it's a problem. This part's a problem. My answer to everything is work out early in the morning, and I just had a little extra caffeine right now. My answer to everything. The problem is that doesn't work, does it?
No, not for everyone. I mean, physical activity is a very, very important part. And one of the things I suggest for people during the 7-day challenge is to just walk for 10 minutes twice a day.
What is that going to do?
Well, the reason that I say that is the research shows if you get out for 10 minutes, you'll stay out longer. And one really interesting thing, in a study, they gave one group of people a candy bar and a cup of coffee. They gave another group a 10-minute walk. Right when they got back, both groups had more energy. 2 hours later, the people that walked for 10 minutes had more energy than the people who had the caffeine.
Okay, I got to get this straight. We're in about an hour or so, we have a lunch break here. Instead of going back into my office here and doing whatever I have to do to get ready, go for a walk here in Manhattan.
Go for a walk. Absolutely.
Before the afternoon taping, how am I going to feel then when I come back?
Well, and you'll feel much better, and 2 hours later, you'll have more lasting energy than if you just had a sugary snack. It's all about circulation, boosting your metabolism, and those things can last for a long time. But there are other things to consider. You know, another step in the challenge is I suggest sleeping alone just for 7 days. This isn't to break up any relationships.
I'm sorry, my wife's cell phone number, I'd like you to call her right now. Is sleeping alone, what does that have to do?
Just for 7 days, because we know that it's not the quantity of your sleep, but the quality of sleep that matters most for your energy
Describe
levels.
quality.
So what I mean is, if you're in bed with your partner and he or she is tossing and turning or sets an alarm to wake up before you or snores, you might not be completing the sleep cycles that your body needs. So just for the 7 days, you create a sleep sanctuary. You make a room that's dark and cold. Don't put no cell phones, no beeping anything, nothing with a fluorescent light, and try to sleep for 8 hours. Just lock yourself in a room physically and figuratively, and sleep alone. You know, when I have my patients do this, most of them say it's one of the most powerful parts of the 7-day plan. They didn't realize how distracted their sleep was.
You're so powerful what you're saying. There's another person in our bed.
Dog, cat,
it's not
child?
getting weird. No, it won't get weird, don't worry. Our daughter Olivia, who's turning 5 as we do the show, she creeps in the middle of the night and I say, come on, Olivia. And then an hour later, she's sideways and kicking me in places I don't want to talk about. And I'm saying, what's going on here? And then all night that's been going on. And then I'm exhausted by 10 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
What should the rule be?
You and I are like this because I have a 6-year-old daughter, Olivia, who does the same thing. I'm like, wait a minute. Why are your feet by my head? And how did that happen?
They're so inconsiderate.
You know, it's wonderful too, but during the challenge, the idea is just to understand how these distractions are really taking a toll on our sleep, and then make small changes to try and control them.
This is important. Do we realize the long-term effect exhaustion is having on us?
You know, that's.
And by the way, what is it?
It's true. So I separate two things: tiredness and exhaustion in the book.
What is the difference?
So tiredness is a natural body response. After you've had a long day, you should feel tired. If you run 6 miles, if you don't feel tired, something's wrong. The exhaustion that I see in practice and that I describe in the book is more profound. It's a full body mental, emotional, and physical experience, and it's often chronic and unrelenting. People can push through life, but it takes the joy out of life. So really, I hope that the book in some ways changes the conversation around fatigue. We're not supposed to feel tired like this. We're not supposed to accept it. And just doing small things can make a difference.
What's fascinating is that, given your expertise, given your clinical experience, you experienced exhaustion for a long time.
Right. So that's why another reason that this book is so personal for me and I feel so passionate about it. I was exhausted for 20 years straight. And here's the irony. A lot of that time, I was in medical school and residency and in practice. I was surrounded by some of the best doctors, the people I respect most. But it was hard when I went into the doctor to get anybody to really take me seriously. They would say, well, Ollie, of course you're exhausted. You're a medical student. Of course you're exhausted. You have, a daughter and a job. Or of course you're supposed to feel this way. Ultimately, I actually was diagnosed with a couple of hidden medical conditions, one of which was fibromyalgia. Treating that made a difference, but the biggest difference came from just small lifestyle tweaks that I really emphasized throughout the book.
The things you're talking about.
Exactly.
Did you start taking walks?
I absolutely did. For me, I'm the type of person where working out too much really drains me, but working out a little bit helps. I'll tell you one small lifestyle tweak that really, really helped me was something I call the 2-minute body inventory. So once an hour, set an alarm. This is only for the 7-day challenge. And while you're awake, set an alarm, just something that vibrates or just gets your attention. Stop what you're doing, just for 2 minutes, and scan from your head to your toes, looking for points of tension or discomfort. So when I started doing this, the alarm would go off and say, wait, what was that? I had already forgotten about it. And then I'd realize, okay, let me do this. I would find that my brow was furrowed. My jaw is clenched. I'm hunched over my computer like this, barely breathing, right? Not breathing enough for energy. And if I took 2 minutes to focus, take deep breaths, release that tension. Sometimes my feet were even asleep. Just shake it off. Once an hour, I had so much more energy.
But you had to do this yourself.
Yeah, and so the book truly is a trial of process and error for me. Everything in it, I've tried. Even the oxygen chambers, even the stuff that's out there.
You tried it all.
I tried it all, and I just explained what worked for me.
It's called The Exhaustion Breakthrough, and the author is Dr. Holly Phillips, MD, and she's a medical contributor over at CBS News, and we thank you for joining the Public Television family for this important interview. Thanks, Holly.
Thank you so much for having me,
Appreciate it. Stay right there. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
New York's a place where energy surges and you feel it when you walk around these streets. There seems to be a sense of purposefulness that captures everybody within the city.
Over 220 different languages are spoken here on an everyday basis. That makes it one of the most diverse places on the entire globe. When you think about different nations, different tribes, tongues, like the Bible speaks about, this melting pot, it's the epicenter of it.
In a big city with 8 million people walking past you all the time and crowded subway cars, you would think this group can't possibly feel lonely, but yet we find everybody's feeling a sense of loneliness, a sense of isolation.
The church, unlike many, many other agencies, is uniquely equipped to address the needs of the city.
And I think what the church does better than any other group is that we bring people together to serve together, to live together, to love together, and to care about your neighbor.
It's a powerful video. We'll talk about it in a second. You're looking at Luis Palau, who is an evangelist and founder of the Luis Palau Association. And Mr. Palau, we were just looking at a video.
Yes.
Describe it.
Well, I like the faces. We have a longer version. All sorts of New York faces, lonely people, street people, classy people. And to me, we came to give good news. That's why our publicity says good news in the city. And we want people to realize that life can be at a higher level, that just the material and even the soulish psychology isn't enough. There's a spiritual side, and that there's good news about that thing.
And that the organization we're talking about here is New York CityServe.
Yes.
And how many churches are a part of this?
About 1,700, 1,800 cooperating together across ethnic groups and languages and cultures. It's very exciting, actually. It's the way it was meant to be,
And we're doing this program here in Lincoln Center at the end of June. It'll be seen after this as well. But on the 11th of July,
yes,
at the Great Lawn, over on the Great Lawn in Central Park, over 60,000 people attend. Describe what's going to be happening.
Well, what's been happening, for background, we've had about 100 events all over Jersey, the 5 counties, boroughs, and then Connecticut. And then we're culminating that week in July. We'll be at Radio City Music Hall, then at Times Square, and Mariano will be there. And then
Mariano Rivera,
yes. He'll be telling a story. And then on Saturday, we end up at the Great Lawn. And we have great music, a message from myself, I'm not the musician. I give the message of hope and excitement and so on. That's really what it's about.
By the way, we mentioned Mariano Rivera. People ask, well, why do you have the greatest relief pitcher in the history of the Yankees? Well, people don't realize he has built, with his wife, in a beautiful church in Westchester County, worked on for many years. He put the money in to make that happen. He's a very spiritual man. Let me ask you, you mentioned your message. You've been greatly influenced by the great Billy Graham.
Yeah, right.
Describe your message.
Well, it's basically the same. It never changes. I mean, St. Paul gave it out 2,000 years ago, and we better not divert from that. What I try to do is like Billy Graham, to be quite honest. I learned from him. I've developed it a little differently. We've had more sports events as part of it, more contemporary music, you know, through the years. But basically, it's the same message that there is good news. For instance, I was thinking about the different people that I've seen in my life, you know. The other day in Connecticut, a fellow who was in the gangs, 15 years ago, came to a festival we had in Connecticut. He had one of his buddies in the gang died in his arms. Another one committed suicide. He himself was considering suicide. He meets a girl, comes to our festival because she invited him. He gives his life to Christ, and now you should see him. He and his wife drive Mercedes of the latest model, successful, 15 years out of the gangs. Then the other day we had a luncheon for businessmen right downtown here, and one of the wealthiest guys in America, Wayne Heisinger Jr., he's well off, but he was in trouble, you know, playing around, using his money for parties that shouldn't be spent on, and he meets Christ, and he becomes a new person. So you've got a gang member and one of the wealthiest men in America. Both of them have a spiritual experience that changes their life for good, you know, and that's really what I'm about, you know.
In Portland, you and your son.
Yes.
Describe your work.
Well, in Portland, we've had an unusual experience. We've lived there for a long time. It rains a lot. I live there because my wife is an Oregonian, and she claims the Bible says, husbands, obey your wives. So that's why I live in Oregon. I love a little more sunshine myself. But anyway, in Oregon, there was confrontation in the past, you know. There was always the debates about social issues and so on. And finally, some of us said, you know, enough is enough.
Well, there's an openly gay mayor involved here.
Yeah.
In
the
Oregon.
First mayor, gay mayor of a major American city,
Right.
Sam Adams. We became friends with him. We began to say, how do we help the city? How can the churches cooperate? And he said, I got 100 projects. Which ones do you want? So we said, give us 5. And we did the schools, and we introduced about 500-600 churches involved with the city, even though, you know, you don't see eye to eye on all the facts about lifestyle. Nevertheless, for the sake of the city of Portland, this went really well. And so the book that one of your assistants was telling me about, written by our son, Kevin, that book, Unlikely, explains how it all worked out, how you can have your convictions, but you can respect each other. And that's what we want to show the cities of America. We don't have to be at each other's throat all the time. We can build a city, and you keep your own convictions, you know.
How is it that so many, and I'm not going to criticize my church, the Catholic Church, in this process. That's not what this platform is. But why does it seem that so many folks in the organized religious community would have a hard time doing what you just said?
I suppose we think in black and white, so to speak, theologically, spiritually. Either things are right or they're wrong. But in a fallen world, there is also a gray area. And there's also the fact that if I disagree with you because of your lifestyle or your convictions, I can still respect you. We can be friends.
Can we work together?
We can work together for the common good.
If we work together, does that mean that I'm somehow compromising on my principles?
No, you're not. No, that's the mistake. When I was younger, I must admit, I made the same mistake. So I'm not pointing the finger. But as I matured, I realized people are people, and they long for respect and for love. And we can work together for the common good, even while we disagree on some of the vital convictions. And you don't give up your convictions to show respect to another person. And that's what Jesus taught us to do. He came, you know, and he hobnobbed with all sorts of people. And he was accused of, you know, going around with prostitutes and drunkards and so on. And he was. But it wasn't like he communed with them. He was there to help them enjoy life and face reality.
Well, Mr. Palau, I want to thank you for joining us. And those stories, I'm sure, will be shared in the work that you're moving forward and doing and making a difference in the lives of others. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to welcome the president of Stevens Institute of Technology in Hoboken, New Jersey, Naramin Farvardin. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
I saw you on with our colleague on NJTV News, our anchor, talking about the brain drain in New Jersey, even though we're here in New York. What do you mean there's a brain drain? Who are we losing?
The notion of brain drain is something that is well understood. When students leave their home state for college education to other states, oftentimes they don't come back. With a very significant percentage of them don't come back. And this has very significant economic implications. So this is generally referred to as brain drain. In the state of New Jersey, we lose a net of approximately 28,000 college-bound students every year to other states. And the economic impact of it and the future and the economic development of the state of New Jersey is very profound.
Are they some of the best students? Are they better? Some of the better students?
I don't have specific data on the academic qualifications of these students, but the sheer number is so staggering that it makes me convinced that there are significant numbers of very, very, very talented students.
You know, sorry for interrupting. The economic and the practical long-term implications of this are?
Very good question. I've actually done a little bit of an analysis to answer this question. When you look at 28,000 students who leave the state, this is a net number. The actual number of students who migrate out of the state of New Jersey per year is about 31,000. But we import, so we export 31,000 and we import about 4,000. So the net is about 27,000, 28,000 per year. You should ask yourself, what is the cost of raising a child, in addition to giving them a lot of attention and a lot of love? What is the cost of raising a child? And there are well understood numbers on this. It's about $250,000, $260,000 per person for the 18-year period until they're ready to go to college. Take that number, multiply it by the total number of students who leave the state, and add to it the average cost of 4 years of college education. That's $10 billion.
With a B?
$10 billion with a B per year.
Per year.
Now,
what are we going to do? What should we do?
Let me just expand on this. This is just the small portion of the
Now you're going to tell me it gets worse.
It's much worse. It's much worse. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The problem is that when these people get their college education and don't come back, you're not going to have those highly educated people who will come back to the state of New Jersey and pay taxes. They will not buy properties. You will be deprived of access to their intellectual firepower. You will be deprived of access to those companies that they will form, to those jobs that they will create. So I think the economic impact is far bigger than the $10 billion a year. The $10 billion is just the back of the envelope calculation that anybody can do.
Real quick, what do we do?
You know, this is a big problem, and I don't think there is a silver bullet that will solve this problem. But I'll give you a couple of ideas about what I think one should do. First of all, I think that the citizens of the state of New Jersey, the elected officials of the state of New Jersey, need to understand this issue and talk about it and try to find a solution in a very proactive way. This is not on the radar screen of a lot of people who influence.
It hasn't been a priority.
Policy. It has not.
I interview members of the legislature all the time. I've never heard one bring it up.
Many of them, in fact, don't know about the extent of the problem, and I don't think any of them is seeking a solution. Now, you asked me about solutions. I'll give you a couple of ideas. First of all, it's important to mention that while we have about a 27,000, 28,000 net loss of students per year, you should ask, so how many students actually do we bring into New Jersey colleges and universities per year? And the number is almost the same. So almost for every one student that you keep in the state of New Jersey, you lose one. That's a staggering number. By the way, I forgot to mention, New Jersey has the largest such problem in all of the United States of America.
The worst.
We are number one in the entire.
One concrete thing we can do.
I would say, if I were a decision maker, I would find a concrete program to identify the cream of the crop among the 27,000 that we lose every year. I want to keep the cream of the crop, in particular in those areas that are critical to economic development of the state. And I find an incentive program to persuade them to stay in the state of New Jersey so that future generations could benefit.
Science, technology, engineering, and math matter most?
In my opinion, these are among the most important areas in terms of workforce development, in terms of economic development. As you know, there's a plethora of evidence that science, technology, engineering, mathematics professionals are responsible for a tremendous amount of economic development. In fact, you may know that only 5% of our workforce is comprised of people in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but they're responsible for about 80 to 85% of GDP growth. So the proportions are very, very unusual. This is a very significant driver.
And you and your colleagues at Stevens are working on this every day?
And we work on this every day. We have tremendous successes. We are very proud of what is happening. The demand for Stevens education is on the rise exactly for reasons that are understandable. Students and their parents recognize that by pursuing an education in these fields and by becoming technology literate, they're likely to have a successful career and a prosperous future.
You know, it's interesting. A few seconds left. This is an area we need to do more work in. And our sister program, Capital Report in New Jersey, with my colleague Raphael Puerman, this is something that we'll be looking at from a public policy perspective and talking to some of those legislators and asking them why we're not talking about number one, and number two, what we should be doing about it from a public policy perspective, and also talking to leaders of industry as well. So I want to thank you, Mr. President, for joining us and talking, coming over to the New York side, which is not far from Hoboken where you're at, but more importantly, raising this very important issue and having us all be thinking about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Steve. It was a pleasure joining you.
Thank you. It was
Thank
great.
you.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, United Water, Wells Fargo, MAGNACARE, New Jersey Sharing Network, KESSLER Foundation, and by Josh S. Weston. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.
There is a place that pushes beyond traditional thinking to take medicine further than ever before, where science and creativity work together to give heart and cancer patients new possibilities, and researchers discover options for children who once had none. A place that proves every day that impossible is just an opinion. Hackensack University Medical Center, where medicine meets innovation.